Hello and welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host Nouran, and today I talked with the musician Charlie Duda. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Charlie, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate having the time to talk with us. I'm going to go ahead and start by asking you, how would you describe the music that you typically create?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. That's a good question. If I had to describe my music in terms of a genre, I would say it's pop music at its core, really. Structurally, it's pretty simple. Intro, verse, chorus, bridge structures, and guitars, drums, bass, vocals, melodic. Nothing too too outside of the ordinary. But I'm a guitar player, so a lot of my music is very guitar centric, and I love melody and harmonies and things like that. So I'm always looking for, a melody that's going to interest me. But I think at its core, in terms of a genre, I would describe my music really as pop. Maybe indie pop, if you want to put a genre on it.
Awesome. And when it comes to your creative process, when it comes to your music, how would you describe it?
My creative process. Well, I don't have a formula, so to speak, in terms of a process. No two songs are ever exactly the same, but I'll usually start when I'm working on a song, with an acoustic guitar and vocals, and start that way. Playing around with different chords and melodies and combinations, and just going with a vibe I'm feeling that day, and kind of wait for something to click that I like, and then go from there. Sometimes it's a chord progression that I'm really into, or I have some guitar idea, and then just build from there. So there's not really a like I said, a formula to it. It just depends on the song, depends on the day and what I'm feeling. But I'll always start with kind of a basic skeleton of a song, and then build it up from there.
Awesome. And I know that you were a musician at a younger age, and you used to be with different bands. What kind of gave you the inspiration or the start that you want to be a musician?
Yeah, I mean, I've been, like a lot of musicians, I've been surrounded by music most of my life. I grew up listening to music, whatever my parents were playing. They're very musical. And, in elementary school, I did like orchestra and band, and that was kind of my intro to playing an instrument, at least. But then as I got older, naturally I started gravitating towards the guitar. And so I picked up guitar. I think I was 13. I got my first electric guitar, Squier Stratocaster. I still have it today somewhere, collecting dust. But that's kind of what got me into music. And then from there, got into the recording side of things and the writing side of things, probably when I was, 15, 16, 17, around that age. And then, played in bands in high school and college, and so on. So I've always been around music and musicians, and always something that's interested me. And it's kind of just always been a part of my life. I can't really imagine, not having music and not having instruments as part of my life.
Yeah, I see instruments behind you. I was just about to tell you, you mentioned earlier that you play guitar. Do you just play bass, or do you also play like all the different sorts of guitars?
Yeah, I mean, I play guitar is my primary instrument, I would say, but yeah, I also, I play bass. A professional bass player would probably say that I'm not a bassist, but I can play bass okay. And but yeah, acoustic and electric, and that's definitely my favorite instrument, and kind of how a lot of my music is started, on a guitar.
Awesome. And I want to talk a little bit about your music, especially your recent single called Really Really, that was from your second EP. Could you tell us a little bit about, like, the process? What was it like recording this single in that EP?
Yeah. So really, really, that was the first single I released from the new EP. The recording process I approached similarly to all the songs on the EP, where I'll start, once I have the song written, at least the structure and the melody and kind of the basic blueprint of the song, I'll start with recording scratch tracks, rough takes of, basic guitar part, basic bass line, some ideas for whatever lead parts, and melody, even if I don't have lyrics yet. But I'll start with the scratch tracks. And then what I did for this EP was I had the drums were recorded remotely by Michael Benjamin Lerner. He's a really great drummer and musician based out of Seattle. He plays in a band called Telekinesis. They're one of my favorite bands. He's one of my favorite drummers, and he agreed to record the drums for these songs. So once I had my scratch tracks in place, I sent everything to him. He did the drums, sent it back to me, and then I kind of built it up from there. Redid the guitars and started to kind of fine tune the tones I was going for, and build it up from there. So yeah, that's kind of the process I used for all the songs on this EP. Kind of started with scratch tracks, had the drums put in, and then kind of redid it, built it up from there. Tell me what you want, you really, really want. Don't know what it is, but I'm certain what it's not. All the time, it's like a roller coaster ride. And I'm thinking that I can't help it. I feel a little bit at ease tonight.
I want to get to, like, because it says that you started creating your own music as a solo artist in the past year or so, and this is your second EP that you've created as a solo artist. What would you say is the most challenging between, like, creating song with a band and creating music just by yourself?
Yeah, it's definitely a different process for sure. If you're playing with a band, a lot of times, a song might start just as a jam session, with other people, and more of a collaborative effort. Whereas, my solo music, it's just me. So I'm just sitting here, with my guitar, coming up with ideas. So in some ways that can be challenging to not have people to bounce ideas off of in the moment. But it's cool in a different way too, and kind of exciting in that way too. But I'll still, as I come up with ideas and start to put demos together, I still share it with friends, and get their ears on it to kind of give me feedback and help me in that way. But yeah, definitely a different process. Writing something with a band versus just as a solo artist.
Yeah, awesome. So, as throughout your musical journey, what would you say was the biggest challenge you have encountered in the journey of your music?
I would say one challenge I have is, maintaining kind of the the spark, the original spark you feel when you come up with an idea, and it's really exciting. But after you're sitting here working on it for hours and hours and weeks, listening to it over and over again, sometimes you start to lose that perspective a little bit, and you get kind of fatigued in that way. And sometimes it can like disrupt, the process, and a song that you really liked at first, maybe you start to like question it and you're like, is this any good? Or, I don't know where to go with this. I've heard it too many times. I'm kind of running out of energy on it, so it could be challenging to deal with that. And you kind of have to, or at least I kind of have to force myself sometimes to commit to decisions along the way, whether it's, a chord progression or a lyric or a guitar tone or whatever. Sometimes if you're not careful and you just let yourself, try every single possible idea you could ever come up with, it's hard to, ever finish something. So it is challenging in that way, but it's something I've been working on, and I think I've gotten better with over the years, is just kind of try to maintain that inspiration and that original spark, that you feel when you first come up with an idea. So I still kind of have to practice that to this day, but that sometimes definitely can be a challenge in the creative process for me, at least.
And if you could go back in time and like give your past self one piece of advice, what would you give? What would you say to them?
One piece of advice for my past self, that is also a good question. Probably, if I could give myself one piece of advice, it would be to not overthink anything too much, or not put too much pressure on yourself or on your music. Again, going back to the fact that you could spend all day or weeks or months or years working on a song, and being a perfectionist about it in some ways could be good. It's good to take pride in your work and you want it to be as good as it can be. But at the same time, for me personally, at least, again, it can hinder me getting anything done. If I'm overthinking it, putting too much pressure on myself to make something great, or this has to be the best song I ever wrote, or, I don't like this, and, maybe I'll just scrap this one. It's like, if you don't practice that, you'll never get anything done or finish a song. So I still have to remind myself of that now, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's just music. It's just one song, just having fun, it's okay,
A few questions before we go, Charlie. In the upcoming months or year, what's new for Charlie Duda?
What's new for me? Well, I'm working on new songs. I'm always writing and trying to come up with ideas and playing around in my studio here with all my toys, as I like to say. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just creating and having fun and coming up with new ideas. And once I've got, some songs I'm happy with, eventually I'll release it. And that's kind of it. That's the plan for now. So just always trying to make music.
Well, best of luck with your upcoming plans that you're planning for yourself in the upcoming month and years. Last thing before we go, Charlie, where can people find you on social media?
Social media, yes, you can find me. Instagram, I'm on Instagram at uncle_Chachi, CHACHEE. That's what my nephew and nieces call me, so I just rolled with it. So I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter at Charlie_Duda, I think it is. I'm not on Facebook right now, so you won't find me there. Sorry. But yeah, other than those, I'm on Spotify, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, all those. So come find me.
Thanks to the musician Charlie Duda for sitting down with us and talking all about his music. If you want to see more interviews just like this, you can visit us online at Studio 67 NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Nouran, and remember to stay positive.